Faisal, it's a big subject, but would you talk about the major aspects of being?
Oh yes, there's so many, things to talk about them, in so many different ways. I think every now and then we're gonna visit them. Each time I remember something interesting, I will add to it, because this is not a retreat about one subject or another, so I have all the material. So I'm gonna reflect on them from different perspectives. The most basic aspect of our being is what is known as the Buddha nature, enlightened nature, the absolute, the nature of mind. And this is a field, as I many times mentioned, a field that has many abilities, many capacities, and it is none of those capacities. Anytime you name it, you name the quality as a description of that field, rest assured you missed it. You have created the frequency in the field and you have separated. If you say it's presence, presence is only one emanation in it. If you say absence, it's another emanation. If you say fullness, it's one emanation. If you say emptiness, another emanation. You can't name the field without it becoming that aspect. So it's so hard to name it or call it. So for those who are really going deep into the nature of the absolute, into the nature of the being, be mindful that your mind doesn't play a trick on you and label it one way or another. Okay. If you want to label it something, recognizing what you are going to experience is the labeling of it. Enjoy this labeling, enjoy this attribute, that the labeling that you put has gave this field a tonality, a certain kind of manifestation. One aspect that this field provides, is sensing ability. It is the sensor. Sometimes you sense it in the animals. You sense the birds, for example. They sense something in the air, You sense the deers, as if nowhere. It's not just by sound. Sometimes by sound, their ears plug up and they hear. Sometimes they just smell the air. Sometimes by the senses. Sometimes by something more than the senses. By the feeling itself, the being itself senses some kind of a presence, I remember Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi, if you've seen that movie, there is a disturbance in the field, one of the planets were blown up. This, if you reach the field itself, your ability to sense what is around, it really increases, including even your basic senses. When you feel the air, when you are in the absolute, the air feels that cooler or fresher or something to it. You haven't paid attention to the airiness of the air or the lightness of light or the spaciousness of space. So the absolute has the ability of sensitizing. It really makes you feel, you sense what is there, but you might not know what it is. You might not know the feeling of what it is, nor the knowledge of what it is. You could feel it, like a baby could feel something, Could sense, for example, if you bring, I don't know, something hot close to it, it senses the heat, but it does not know the feeling of what the heat is, it doesn't have the knowledge, it doesn't have the knowing, but it has the sensing, the pure sensing of what is there. So the field is the absolute, is the sensor, senses everything. The point of light, the human soul, this magical being inside, can feel the nature of that sensing. Is what I am sensing beautiful or not, ugly, dangerous, exciting? It gives it a different meaning, to it, Sometimes you might not even know what it is, but like you see some children, you put music, certain music, and they get up and dance. And you put another music, they just sit and they might even cry. They don't know this is sad music, but there is something in them that feels the feelings related to the phenomena.
But more personal.
more personal, more human, more what it means to us. And this is the function of the point of light. The point of light gives meaning to those frequencies, to those manifestations, to those state of emotionality or essences or whatever, those are, and gives us the ability to like or dislike, come towards something or away from something. This is not the function of the Absolute. The Absolute senses all there is, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. It doesn't shy away from anything. It's not interested in differentiating anything, but it makes you aware of what it is. The point of light begin to bring this kind of preferences and feeling and knowing in the human level that we know. And the more the point of light enlightened, the more, of course, it has more depth and meaning to those experiences. Then,
Faisal, where would you say the point of light resides in the human system?
I mean, when the point of light is really liberated, as I said before, the location of it is in the heart, in the sacred heart, in the middle of the chest. That's where it is. But sometimes the point of light freaks out, runs out of the body, Some people, they feel as if they have never incarnated. Their point of light never landed in their body, Some people, they have their point of light in their head, So they confuse it, that they think the point of light is an image or a concept, And the 2, 3, 4, they think the point of light is an emotion, an emotionality, And the 1, 8, 9, they feel the point of light in the belly, but they think that the point of light is feeling of bodyhood or what, different kind of bodily sensation. So the point of light can move and sometimes kind of free float. But when it is really settled and the situation is clear, it's often in the heart. That's why you see so many people say, I said it, I, they go to the heart, So then we are the point of light is really the one who feels and begin to have a certain kind of differentiation and meaning to the experience, pleasant, unpleasant, through knowing, through feeling, not necessarily intellect, but just direct knowing, and
intuition,
sensation, feeling, differentiation. It feels what it is, And then when we begin to differentiate even further, we come to the diamond body. The diamond body tells us this is this thing and this is that thing. This is about, this emotion or that emotion. We begin to name them. We begin to classify them. We begin to systematize them. Then that is the diamond consciousness that begin to give it more differentiation, more. It's the knower. It's the differentiator. Kind of break things into more and more differentiation, then goes all the way to the mind taking over and the ego taking over. Then it becomes belief systems. Then it becomes a limitation, So the absolute, when it's open, your sensitivity of existence increases, That's why so many people who do spiritual work, they can sense what's going on in the world more than others. Some people think that when they go deep in the spiritual world and they reach their enlightenment, they will be immune to this world. No, it's the opposite. When you reach that level, you are so open, your armoring has removed, has released. If something happened on the other side of the earth, you feel it. And I always tell so many in the work, like, now you've done so much work, you are even more sensitive than before, And I always emphasize for the women, because they are more sensitive than the men, The women, they have the absolute in their womb. It's not in their head, I really say it to all the women. If you want to find being, go to your womb. It's there. Feel your being, relax in your being, stop seeking it. This is guys' things, We are in our head shooting the sperm to infinity. You go there, you have the egg down there in the womb. It's less, That's insane, really. Go to the womb, and the womb in every female, conscious or unconscious, is always open in one level or another. And so many females are sensing what's happening. I have so many female clients saying, we are more disturbed now than ever. We can't even sleep. We're having all kinds of anxieties, you know. And some of it is that because so much, you know, atrocities and pain happening on earth, and the sensing apparatus in the female is more sensitive. So they feel it. It really disturbs them without knowing that the gate is in the belly, it's in the womb. So they have it there, and this field is very able to sense so much of what's going on, you know. So the field is the sensor. We can sense the different frequencies, and the point is the feeler. It tells us what it is: joy or sorrow or love, and the diamond body begin to differentiate it, and might differentiate it in a concepts for 5, 6, 7, or for a musician they might put music to it, you know, or for an actualizer they might build I don't know, a temple, you know. Really, we all have different kind of intelligences and capacity of actualizing the sensing, the feeling, and the you know, the manifestation of it. So this is another way of looking at those three things, because sometimes people think spiritually you reach one thing and that's it. But when you learn the differentiating wisdom of all of those things, you become more skillful. You can greet your point of light when it comes. You can greet your absolute when it comes. You can greet your diamond guidance when it comes. And you can have them harmonize instead of the ego and the super ego and the issues coming, lumping them up and confusing you. You know, you see, no, this is the, you know, what is for Caesar is for Caesar, and what's for God is for God. You know, having the differentiating wisdom, I found it for me, helped me a lot. I wish somebody explained to me those pieces, then I would have been far better, you know, through this whole journey.
How do you go about integrating those three?
I think the more we recognize them, the more we see that the issues that get activated by, you know, each aspect of them. There is a whole collective of issues regarding the sensing. There's a whole collective issue regarding having a self that knows, you know, and about the differentiating wisdom. The more we deal with the personal issues about them, then we clear the path. And the more we see that they really harmonize, you know, like let's say one common issue is that since like some of us grew up in let's say in a family where we never felt the harmony between mother, father, and child, you know. Either mother doing her thing and she's having conflict with father, or father having conflict with child. And so the feeling of that there is a harmonious state of being in which everything works together poses a challenge to our unconscious, you know. So we don't think that the absolute can exist with the point of light, can exist with the diamond body, you know. We think I am either having to be in my mind, or I have to be in my feeling, or I have to be in my absolute. Once we see that there is internal blockages and belief systems that doesn't make them work harmoniously, then those qualities begin to unfold harmoniously. And the more also we increase our meditations, our taking time, personal time, as a gesture of love, not as a spiritual duty, not as a religious duty, as an act of love, that I love myself enough to take an hour, 2, 3 hours a day for me, to feel, to sense, to pray, to meditate. These barriers begin to thin away, you know. And the being, there is no conflict in the being whatsoever. All the conflicting feelings work harmoniously in being. Heat and cold work harmoniously, they don't clash. It's a different magical way of being. So it's a whole journey of how to harmonize those elements of what we are. But there is a state that's really beautiful to aspire to, which is, I think I heard from E.J. Gold. It's called The Harmonious Human Being.
Mm.
How to attain to the harmonious human being, in which body, mind, psyche, spirit, they work harmoniously. We are created as a harmonious being. Then we get differentiated and divided and, split off. And I'm trying to sort out the spiritual lump that leads to the confusion. Knowing the differentiation will lead to the harmonization.
Thank you for that great discernment.